Here are some reasons why demand for housing continues to go up in Toronto. During the pandemic, tech companies are actually expanding their offices to Toronto. Ottawa has announced that it will inject $15 million of funding into tech companies in Toronto. Plus, we're seeing more people buy investment properties overall, and companies are starting to plan to go back to the offices for work. All of this extra demand means that it's hard for our supply to keep up. One way we've been increasing supply is to build up more condos. But there's still a lot of land that's taken up by individual homeowners, and not everyone wants to live in a box in the sky. So a shifting focus for the city is to build up density in these properties while keeping homes intact. In this video, I'll talk about why these densification opportunities, such as adding secondary suites, laneway houses, and potential garden suites, actually make sense for real estate investors, and how much your real estate returns can improve if you take these on. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this content, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss other content like this made specifically for real estate investors in Toronto. Since the year 2000, Toronto has started allowing secondary suites in existing semis and detached homes that's been built for at least 5 years. Secondary suites are self-contained legal units for another household to live together under one roof with a separate kitchen, bathroom, and entrance. Other cities in the GTA have much stricter zoning requirements for secondary suites, meaning it's just not as easy to get these done. In comparison, Toronto has opened up secondary suites to all houses because Toronto needs the extra supply, unlike other cities that have plenty of land to grow. Initially, they only allowed it in semis and detached houses that's been around for at least 5 years, and now the city has made things even more lenient by allowing new homes and townhomes as well. If you build a basement apartment, how would your capital requirements and returns change? Let's dive into an example with a starter freehold in Toronto. These are typically semis or smaller bungalows priced at around $900,000. From an investment standpoint, it's a pretty good investment. We've consistently seen much better appreciation compared to borrowing rates. Plus, you also have rental income, which can help you pay for operating costs. So yes, it's a good investment. This is also the easiest investment to get started with, since you don't have to put in any work before you rent it out. In exchange, houses rented as a whole will get lower total rents. So your rent yields aren't as good, meaning your holding power is weaker. You can pay 20% down payment for investment properties. So after closing costs, you're looking at around $210,000 of capital. A whole house rents for $3,200 minus expenses and a mortgage with 30-year amortization. You're left with negative cash flows of around $370 per month. A side note here is that this is still better than condos. The big difference here is that houses have lower operating expenses without condo fees. So if you're comparing rent yields, or we like to use cap rates, calculated by taking your net rent before mortgage expenses divided by your property's price, the cap rate for a single family home is at 3.1% versus Toronto condos right now, which is at around 2.7%. So based on an annual appreciation of 5% plus rental income, this translates to a 5-year total return of $235,000 or an annualized ROI of 16%. Now let's change the situation up and add in a secondary suite into the same property. We'll put in a separate basement apartment. This takes more work on your part. It's more risk since you're dealing with more unknowns, and will cost you an extra around $50,000 at least. So this takes your total capital required to $260,000. Higher risk, higher reward, and if you do it right, your property's value will increase by more than you put in. Based on experience, your property will typically be appraised at $1.025 million after renovations. And if you take out the extra $15K you put in for renovations, you gain $75,000. Next, let's look at rents, which increases as well because you have 2 units instead of 1. The upper unit can be rented out for around $2,500 a month, and the basement apartment can be rented for $1,600. So now your cash flows are at positive $600. This improves your holding power since you don't need to put extra money into the property each month. And when you look 5 years out, your total returns are now at $401,000 with market appreciation, value add appreciation, and rental income, which is a better annualized ROI of over 20%. Now let's take densification one step further. Your backyard has valuable space that can be made into livable units too, and that's where Laneway suites come in. In 2018, Toronto started allowing owners to build houses in the backyard if you have a laneway, and starting this year, fire access requirements are now more lenient, so it's actually even easier for you to be able to build a laneway house. So what if you have a house without a laneway? The city is working on that too, and these are called garden suites. It's not yet approved right now, but it's definitely in the works with a planned rollout as early as this summer. If you stay tuned to our channel, we'll update you once we get more news on this. A laneway house costs at least $270,000 to build, which can be funded with a construction loan. If you choose to access funds elsewhere, another alternative is to simplify the process by funding everything upfront first, then refinancing to take out the cash as soon as the project is done. So now with our house and secondary suite, let's keep our calculations simpler and just look at a laneway house without a construction loan. Our capital requirements go up to $535,000. Once construction is done, you can conservatively rent out the backyard house for $2,000, while expenses only go up by $500 per month, so your cash flow improves by $1,500. Here's the trickier part. Because laneway houses are so new, it's harder to appraise these properties because of a lack of sales data. One way to appraise it is by looking at cap rates, but then you also run into an issue of what cap rate to use. A higher cap rate means a lower property value. So from a bank standpoint, that's most likely their stance. So we'll use a higher cap rate of 4% to get our new market value, bringing our property's price to $1.41 million. This means you made $190,000 just from value add work, and your total 5-year returns is now $1.18 million, or an annualized return of 24.5%. Remember how we talked about refinancing the property after construction? Right now, with better returns, we're actually under leveraged and sitting on a lot of equity compared to other scenarios. So if we go back to refinance the property, we can pull out a good chunk of equity and improve our leverage. In this example, if we increase our loan to 80% of the property's new value, we can pull out over $400,000, which brings down our capital in this investment to $135,000. Cash flows do drop, but equity paydown goes up because we now have a bigger loan. At the end of the day, less capital in the investment is the biggest factor that brings our ROI up drastically. The 5-year return in this case is more or less the same at $1.14 million, but it equals a massive 5-year annualized return of 54% per year. Value add opportunities are often higher risk, especially if you haven't done this before. These numbers only work if your renovations are done on time and on budget, and that's where we can help. By working with our team, you leverage our real estate investing and renovations experience, which reduces your risk while generating these higher returns. If you want to learn more about the different types of residential real estate investment opportunities there are in Toronto and what would be good for you, just reach out to us so that we can chat. I'll put a link in the description below on how to contact us. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you want to get more frequent updates about real estate investing in Toronto, look for us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I wish you all the best in your real estate investing journey. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.